I don't know what else it takes, but I don't believe that we can stop at the door of the United States House. I believe there will have to be an emergence of members of the House flooding the United States Senate for Senator McConnell to understand that these initiatives today, my gun storage bill, my bill that I've introduced dealing with the caliber weapon. I've held an AR-15 in my hand. I wish I had it. It is as heavy as 10 boxes that you might be moving. And the bullet that is utilized, a 50 caliber, these kinds of bullets, need to be licensed and do not need to be on the streets. So I think the House, once it votes, I hope there will be members that are Republicans and Democrats that will be Americans when it goes to the floor of the House, and they'll vote on behalf of the American people, or my constituents in the state of Texas, twice, or many other constituents. And then I think it is important for the President of the United States to commit to what he said previously, which is he was prepared to support the background check and that he would be open to other legislation. 90% of the people want background checks. Over 60% want a ban on assault weapons. 80% plus want red flag laws. And I would venture to say those numbers would be similar for storage laws and for licensing laws regarding the question of firearms and ammunition. And finally, interestingly enough, Americans support the buyback program, which all of us could have in our respective communities. We're at a crisis. It's not just the Taliban coming to the United States. We're at a domestic crisis, and it's toxic, and it's combined with hatred. And besides the toxicity of hate, we have guns, and we cannot wait any longer. We cannot wait any longer. We're good people in Texas, but we're frightened. And so what I'm hearing from people is that they're frightened, that they believe that they cannot live in this kind of status and definition of what Texas is. A state elected official, 100% NRA, has recently indicated his opposition to private sales, and it should be regulated. Certainly the NRA was quick to jump and to indicate he may not be supported anymore. But there are people who are saying to that same elected official, they may not support you, but we will. People are frightened. They're frightened for their children. They're scared of that call that they may get from the school. They even talk about backpacks that are reinforced. It is really the parent who has to separate from the child and go to work that wonders what kind of call will you get. Not that Johnny was not behaving in class or didn't bring her homework or she didn't bring her homework, but what kind of attack on the schools would they face? So there are changing attitudes in Texas, clearly changing attitudes. They're changing attitudes because mayors have to deal with the violence through their law enforcement, loss of life of law enforcement who are on the front lines when these tragedies happen, have to get between the bullets and the innocent victims. I went to El Paso to be with my colleague, Congresswoman Escobar, and I went to the hospital. I visited the gun victims, and they have a long journey of recovery. I sat in a funeral, not of one, but of a husband and wife, and they buried more than one group, if you will, or couple in El Paso. Two people, not because of old age, not because of a car accident, because they were shot down doing what Americans love to do, is being together, shopping, being out on a Saturday morning. So I just, my cup has run over. I'm hoping that the cups of many people have run over, not for a violent reaction, but for a reaction that will be unceasing. I don't think we can go back. I don't think we can be a war zone. And the legislation today has to pass, but we've got to get the Senate right now to move on the background checks, which could have saved lives in Odessa because the gentleman failed a background check and brought it from a private seller.